We think a lot about social cohesion in communities. There's a lot of ways in which the absence of money, you don't have money, but you have each other. And there are a lot of ways that people help each other without, because it's all they have. And so we've been trying to figure out how we tap into that in the Bronx in particular. And so even before we started working in the Bronx, there was a tremendous effort to organize the community to figure out how it wanted development to unfold. There was a big fight. There's an armory in the Bronx. It's the biggest in the world. And the mayor wanted to turn it into a shopping mall, some kind of development that was low-wage jobs. And people in the Bronx have had low-wage, poor-condition jobs since forever, generations. And people sort of said, it's enough. We have to figure out another way of bringing economic development into this community that actually helps us do better than we've been doing. And they organized a process over a year of meetings in communities, talking to people about the plans, asking people what they wanted to see for the armory. And it really changed the nature of discussion about development in the Bronx. Suddenly, it wasn't enough to say, well, they need jobs, just give them minimum wage jobs, it doesn't matter. Because people were saying, we want more for ourselves and for our kids. And through that process, actually, the community groups came to agree that they wanted worker-owned businesses and that they wanted to work with the local institutions, the hospitals, the museums, the botanical gardens, the Bronx Zoo, to figure out how those institutions, which have huge expenditures just to keep themselves going, how some of those operations could be used to support the community. How, hospitals buy everything from diapers to salad to car service and everything in between. And most of those purchases aren't made in the Bronx. They're not looking to Bronx businesses. They look outside of the borough to get their needs met. And so the community began to say, are there examples anywhere in the world where, it's done differently, where anchor institutions that exist in the community, are looking to the community itself to provide their needs and then helping to enrich the community. So that was the beginning of the Bronx Project. On the other side, community organizations, so this idea of buy local, hire local, and the community organizations wanted to take it one step further and say, what's our role? How do we, if we're asking them to buy local, what kind of businesses do we need to create? What kind of businesses do we need to attract? How do we make sure that when the hospital or the Bronx Zoo comes looking for a local vendor, that there's somebody on the other end to provide what they need? So this is a real challenge. How do you make available the entrepreneurial skill and experience to allow businesses that are being created to address the needs of the community and the institutions in the community? How can we make sure that they can survive and flourish? And so one of the things we've done in the Bronx is we've developed a relationship with Mondragon, which is an industrial co-op in Spain owned by workers, 100,000 workers. And they have a bank, and it's a very developed industrial complex. We're working with them to get help thinking through how you set up successful co-ops, and not just individual co-ops, a taxi cab co-op or a food co-op, but figure out how the co-ops can be networked with each other and support each other. That's a big added advantage that helps to make businesses that are worker-owned more sustainable and resilient. If they are connected to each other, they can supply each other and work with each other to support each other's needs. CoLab is really looking to partner with companies that are interested in working in communities. that see the benefit of connecting to social cohesion in communities. We are really inspired by an example in Southern California where a supermarket company, Food for Less, was brought into a community that had been a food desert. It was, very little availability of fresh food. And Food for Less was enticed into the community through a development program. And as part of the deal, they agreed to do worker training, and there was a community ownership part of the project. So the community now owns part of the Food for Less, and suddenly they have a great stake in making that Food for Less really profitable. People from the community work in that Food for Less, and that's another way in which the community is really invested in the success of Food for Less. And it turned out that within several years, that Food for Less was the most profitable store in the state. So we think there are all kinds of different ways that companies can benefit from the cohesion and shared interest of communities if they are willing to be patient and to work with the community, plan with the community, dream with the community, think about the specific needs in the community, and work together to have those needs met.